Thank you, Audrey and Rusty. That was great as usual. Giving our invocations today is William Starrett.
Please bow your heads with me. As we gather here today as a member of Rotary, we pray that we may be mindful of opportunities to render service to our community. We are thankful for this day, for its blessings, its opportunities, and its challenges. Please join me in a moment of reflection and thanks with these words. With our friends beside us, there is no one beneath us. With the bonds of Rotary between us and our worries behind us. With our goal before us and no task beyond us. With a thirst for knowledge and a dream for a better world. We are thankful for our Rotary friends and the meal we are about to share. Bless our time here today and the service we undertake in the coming week. Amen.
Good job, sir.
Thank you, William. That was great. Today with our visiting Rotarians and guests, we have Dr. Susan Elkins. Susan. Here she comes.
Thank you, President Mason. Good afternoon, everybody. We are pleased to have a visiting Rotarian with us today. We'd like to ask him to stand. Phil Brummett, and he comes from the Fairfax, Virginia Club. Welcome, Phil. All right, for those of you who brought guests with you, would you please stand and ask your guests to stand as well so that you can introduce them as the microphone makes its way around the room.
Hello, my name is David Tucker, and I have with me Carter McIntyre from McIntyre Produce.
Hey everyone, today I have with me Shannon and Sarah Odom. Shannon is in charge of sales at the Discover SC, and Sarah, I did not practice this, Parks and Recreation Department. And Sarah is membership director at the Capital City Club.
I'm Glenn Matthews, and for the second week in a row, I have Derek Anderson from Avanti Leadership, and they help businesses grow. And he actually turned out to be one of my neighbors, so welcome, Derek.
Rusty DePass, and I'm pleased to have as my guest today Tom Gottschall, who is an attorney, retired from the very prestigious law firm of Hainsworth Sinclair Boyd, and the president of our Sunday school class.
All right, welcome to all of our guests. Please come back and join us at any time, and we'd love to have you as new members. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. With health and happiness, past president Rusty DePass.
Yeah, wipe that thing down. I'm taking off my mask. How many masks are you wearing? Who's anybody not wearing a mask? Anybody wearing one mask? Okay. How many people wearing two masks? Nobody? How many people wearing three masks? I understand Lord Fauci is now up to 3. So for those of you who are only wearing one, there'll be a uniformed corona fascist cop outside to give you a citation on your way out. The Columbia City Ballet, William Starrett's crowd, is going to be at the Kroger on March the 5th and 6th. 3 programs. The 3 and 7:30 on the 6th, that's Saturday, I think, and Friday the 5th at 7:30. I'm going to leave this up here on the dais in case anybody would be interested in purchasing tickets. The number is here and so forth. I'm sure it'll be a very fine performance. Kim Mitchell will begin her contest as the Leukemia and Lymphoma Woman of the Year at 12:01 a.m. Tomorrow morning. And for those of you who would like to help her win that contest, go to lls.org and donate as much money as you would like to that cause, and each dollar counts for 1 vote. Hal Stevenson reports that his son Alex, who is kind of an academic minor league guy who's a nuclear physicist for the Sandia Lab in Albuquerque, that Alex and his wife welcomed twins, a boy and a girl, into the world on February the 11th. They were a little premature at 28 weeks, but everyone seems to be doing well. Margaret Clarkson and her husband Peter Roney are off with their daughter M to look at colleges, and they're spending the entire week. I remember doing that some 55 years ago and 56 years ago, and I'm sure it will be an exciting time for all of them. We'll see who's at whose throat by the time they get back. Most importantly, perhaps for today, is that we want to welcome back for the first time since he had a bad fall, and that is our longtime member Ken Childs, back for the first time. Welcome back. And of course, the ubiquitous cart fund message from Frank Brown. Last year, our club collected over $6,400 for the cart fund. That's an average of $533 per month. We've contributed $3,300 so far this year for an average of $412 per month. So we still have time to match or exceed last year's total, and I hope that everyone will join together in doing that. So remember those blue buckets on your table for not only your loose change, but just to make sure it doesn't interrupt the meeting, why don't you put silent paper money in there instead? And you can also make checks out to the cart fund to ensure the deductibility of them when Uncle Sugar comes around next year. I found a couple of little things that I thought you might be amused with. One was I think the motto of the Boy Scouts is "Be prepared," and this reminded me of that. A police officer was patrolling late at night off of a main highway, and he saw a couple down this lover's lane with the interior light in the car burning brightly. He carefully approached the car to get a closer look, and he saw a young man behind the wheel reading a magazine, and noticed a young woman in the rear seat who appeared to be filing her fingernails. Puzzled at this surprising situation, the officer walked to the car and rapped on the driver's window. The young man lowered the window and said, "Yes, sir, officer, what can I do for you?" The cop says, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm reading a magazine." So pointing toward the young woman in the back seat, he asked, "And what's she doing?" He said, "Well, I think she's filing her fingernails." Now the cop was totally confused. A young couple alone in a car at night in a lover's lane, and nothing was seen as happening. So he asked the young man, "What's your age?" And the young fellow said, "I'm 22. And the cop asked, "And what's her age?" The young man looked at his watch and said, "She'll be 18 in 11 minutes. I hope nobody has heard this, or not a lot of people, but there's a retiree mental fitness evaluation going around. This test is used to determine your mental state now, today. If you get one right, you're doing okay. If you get none right, you better go for counseling. And I will be sure to meet you there. There are 4 test questions. Number 1 is the giraffe test. How do you put a giraffe into a refrigerator? Stop and think about it and decide on your answer. The correct answer is open the refrigerator, put in the giraffe, and close the door. This question tests whether you tend to do simple things in an overly complicated way. The second test is the elephant test. How do you put an elephant into a refrigerator? Did you say, open the refrigerator, put in the elephant, and close the door? Wrong answer. The correct answer is, open the refrigerator, take out the giraffe, put in the elephant, and close the door. This tests your ability to think through the repercussions of your previous actions. Test number 3 is the Lion King test. The Lion King is hosting an animal conference. All of the animals attend, except one. Which animal does not attend?
The elephant.
The elephant. Because the elephant is in the refrigerator. You just put him in there. This tests your memory. Good memory. Okay, even if you did not answer the first 3 questions correctly, you still have one more chance to show your true abilities. Test number 4 is the crocodile test. There's a river you must cross, but it is inhabited by crocodiles, and you do not have a boat. How do you manage it? You jump into the river and you swim across. Haven't you been listening? All the crocodiles are attending the animal conference. This tests whether you learn quickly from your mistakes. According to Anderson Consulting Worldwide, which I guess is a legitimate organization, around 90% of retirees they tested got all the questions wrong. But many preschoolers got several correct answers. Anderson Consulting says this is conclusive proof of the theory that most retirees do not have the brains of a 4-year-old. And I thank you very much, and I hope you have a nice week. And wear your masks.
Thank you, Rusty. Appreciate that. Yes, do remember your buckets, and you can put in a check for contribution to the CART fund. That would be great. We do need you all to put your mask on when you're finished eating, and there is a mask ordinance here in Columbia and in Richland County, so we want everybody to feel safe being here, so please put them on. Multiple if you want, but one is the only one we really need to put on. We do have Rotary masks available up front if you do want one for a $10 contribution to Rotary Club. Okay, next on the agenda, we're going to have a special presentation from our foundation chair, Robin Gorman, who's going to come up and talk about Paul Harris Fellow.
Thank you, President Mason. This is always a wonderful opportunity to recognize those who are supporting the foundation. If Steve Bryant and Beth Partlow would please come up. And while they're coming, I want to, again, say to you that I know we had the point system just recently. I am waiting for the latest information from Rotary International so that I can, y'all don't be shy, come on, so they can see you. So that I can speak with each one of you about where you are for your next level. I don't have that information today. Hopefully I'll have it during the week or by next week. You can contact me. The best way is robin.l.gorman@gmail.com. And I know several of you have already approached me to find out where you are at your next level. So hopefully I will have that information for you and we can let you know where you are so that you can work on your next level. Remember, if you do a check, put your Rotary ID on the check. Otherwise, it doesn't get credited to you or to the club. And if you're doing it on your payment, when they come out, the office is noting your number on there. So, and also hang on to all of your letters that you receive. Okay, having taken care of that, I want to tell you about Steve and Beth. Steve, he is a +4 foundation. And Steve, this really goes back about the time COVID hit. And we had not been able to make the presentation. So Steve, +4. This is fabulous. Also, Beth has reached the next level of a +1, which is a Paul Harris plus the next 1,000 +1. Beth, thank you. And Carl Choate was not able to be with us today. He hopes in the near future he can, and we can do his award. So please give them a hand, and all Rotarians, please stand and give yourselves a hand. Please stand. I'll be Rotarian. It's Paul Harris. So I'm counting on 100% Rotarians for Paul Harris. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin, and thank you for everybody here who gives to the Rotary Foundation habitually and throughout the year and every quarter as we do our dues. Membership is essential to our club. We'd like to encourage everybody to invite prospective members to come to our Discover Rotary meetings. We held one this morning. It's on the first Monday of every month, like today. We did have one prospective member attend. The next one's going to actually be on the second Monday of April because we will not meet on Monday directly after Easter. So instead of the 5th of April, it's going to be on April 12th. That'll be our next Discover Rotary meeting. We want to get some more prospective members there. Membership is essential to our club. Speaking of essential to our club, the board met last week to discuss our finances and the budget. You all received your quarterly dues from January, and we need everybody to pay it. Part of the discussion was talking about the effects of the pandemic on this club financially, and I want to bring this report to you. We've had a number of members who had to resign with unpaid bills. Some folks are behind on their bills, and some have asked for a leave of absence until they can get back on their feet. We've certainly honored all of them. Still, we've had some others reach the required age of the status of R85, and those folks pay dues and just pay for lunches. So they're not as profitable as members of the club that we want everybody to be. Needless to say that our club still has bills to pay, and so does Seawell's. Your board voted on 3 things last week, and these will all take effect on the next quarterly billing invoice starting in April. All meals will cost $1 more per the request of Cal Sewell. That will start in April. Club dues will increase by $30 per year. This amount will be included on the next invoice in order to help our budget balance for the remainder of this year. We haven't had a dues increase since Mark Sullivan was the president, and we're very under market compared to the other large clubs in South Carolina. We polled every club in South Carolina that has over 100 members, and we're the least expensive to be a part of. Just as note, the Charleston Club pays $25 per meal and $4 for parking per meeting. That's $29 unless you're walking. So yeah, we're not in Charleston, but again, whew, that's pretty heavy. All right, that $30 will be on your next dues invoice in April. Due to the good stock market returns that we've had in our scholarship fund, you know we give scholarships every year, and we have a scholarship fund that's doing very well. I'm happy to report that this fund is almost self-sustaining. We actually bring in more funds through the gains in the stock market than we give out every year. As a result, we're going to direct and request a $25 per quarterly donation to our Century Fund, which is also tax deductible and used for philanthropic and service purposes. If you have any questions about these changes, please contact me or any member of the board after the meeting or anytime. We'll be glad to talk to you about that. We appreciate your understanding on these changes that will take effect with the next invoice. That's enough of that. Next on the agenda is giving an update is Blake Buchanan to talk about the Bocce Bash, part of our service and benevolence.
Thank you, President Mason. I'm doing this in Margaret's absence since she's out looking at colleges. But with this past weekend, the weather, fantastic, right? Probably got some sunburn, etc. So it's a perfect time to actually talk about our Bocce Bash, which we did not get to have in 2020. Unfortunately, it was scheduled for, I believe, in April, May. We bumped it back twice, weren't able to do it, and the committee voted to not try to do it this spring, which we probably would have had to push back again. So it's scheduled for Saturday, October the 9th, and you've probably seen it scroll through. You've probably seen some social media posts from folks on the committee. But Saturday, October 9th, it will be at Segra Park again. It'll be all day. We did work that around football schedules and other events that are going on in town. So we should have final free weekends for ourselves. Just want to give you a couple of quick notes, and I'll make this try as fast as I can. Right now, we have over $21,000 committed, okay? $21,000 committed. Some of those were committed before we had to cancel, and then some of them have already signed on for this coming year. We've had about a quarter of those have paid. So if you haven't seen an invoice, please come see me, and we'll get that taken care of with Harley Carpenter with the Special Olympics. And she'll get that invoice to you. But so a quarter of it's been paid, so that's really good. And I will say we have our newest sponsor, and this is thanks to Libby, but JT is going to be our lunch sponsor. So I really appreciate what JT did, and thanks Libby for all that help. Appreciate it. And one other thing that we, with Gracie Stevens joining our club recently, you will start to see some billboards soon, right? So they have graciously provided billboards for us to promote the Bocce Bash and to also highlight some of our sponsors. So you're going to start to see those, and we'll let you know when that's going to happen, but it's an added benefit to also promoting the event. And if anybody's on the committee, can y'all stand up real quick just so people can see you if you have any questions? If you have any questions about Bocce Bash, please see one of these folks, and we'll be glad to answer them for you. So Saturday, October 9th, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Blake. We're looking forward to that. Now, for our main speaker, we're going to have an introduction by our member Jesse Bullard with Southern Way Catering.
Thank you, President Mason. Rusty, evidently, I have the pleasure of introducing Commissioner Hugh Weathers, whose job, as well as William, is also to fill the Kroger Center with groceries. It's bad. So Commissioner Hugh Weathers has been our Commissioner of Agriculture since 2004. Under Commissioner Weathers' leadership, the department has created the Certified SC Grown Branding Program to help consumers easily identify and purchase South Carolina products while increasing market opportunities for farmers across the state. In 2009, Commissioner Weathers introduced the 50 by 20 goal to grow the economic impact of South Carolina agribusiness from $34 to $50 billion by the year 2020. Under his guidance, the department has also introduced the Agribusiness Center for Research and Entrepreneurship, ACRE, an industry-driven ag research initiative that seeks to provide additional economic prosperity for SC agribusiness from within the state. Commissioner Weathers was born in and still resides in Bowman, South Carolina, and is a fourth-generation farmer. He graduated magna cum laude from the University of South Carolina in 1978, earning a BS degree in accounting and finance. He was inducted into Phi Beta Kappa in 1977, and upon graduation, he was employed as a corporate banking officer with CNS National Bank before returning to the Weathers farm. He was awarded an honorary doctorate of humanities and public service from the University of South Carolina in 2019. The Commissioner serves on numerous local, state, and national agricultural business, economic development, and banking committees and boards. In 2011, he was inducted into the South Carolina Dairy Hall of Fame and has received numerous other awards and recognitions. He is married to the former Blanche Grambling of Spartanburg County, who grew up on her family's peach farm, and they have 3 sons, Gil and his wife Elizabeth, Edward and his wife Anna, and Julius and his wife Sarah, as well as 3 grandchildren. The Weathers are members of Orangeburg First Baptist Church. Commissioner Weathers considers it a privilege to serve in the citizens of South Carolina and to lead our state's largest industry, agribusiness. I give you Commissioner Hugh Weathers.
Say this, your national anthem singing has improved since I was here last. Don't make me sing for my lunch last time I was here, so you get to bypass that. I think I probably have donated more to the Blue Bucket Fund than anyone most every time I speak to a Rotary group. I like to do that. It has personal meaning. My father suffered from that debilitating disease in the last years of his life. And as I've told others who've gone through some of the things, is you lose your loved one twice, and the second time is easier. But in visiting him, it reminded me, I've been at this for a while as your commissioner, and I tell people it just changed what I do. I don't think it's ever changed who I am. Unlike the story I learned of a newly elected congressman who maybe had a loved one similar in a facility, memory aid facility, and not long after going to office, going to Washington, he was back, decided to go visit that relative, and sort of walking down the hall, proud of himself, waiting for someone to recognize him, and I guess he got tired of waiting, so he asked an elderly lady, said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, do you know who I am?" She said, I don't, but if you go to the front desk, they'll tell you. Anyway, with that disease, it's best to keep your sense of humor as best you can, as I learned with both my parents. So, I have been serving as your commissioner for quite a while, and I looked around this room and I can see a handful of people who have helped in the time that I've served, both not only being active in the industry, advising us with some research. I see Frank Brown over there, Bernie Maybank, who's helped a lot of agribusinesses choose South Carolina. And the whole point is this is a team sport of agriculture. While the farmers of our state are some of the most independent-minded people you will ever know, and I'm one of them, I should know, it has been a privilege to help create opportunities for this industry and for the people of it. We call it an industry, but really it's just some of the 25,000 farms we have across the state, young, old, every demographic imaginable. We do have, based on the last survey, we have more minority, veteran, and women-owned, female-owned farms in South Carolina than the national average. So it's something we're proud of there. And we're also proud, I think it was mentioned about the certified SC grown. And in our last research that we did, over 80% of South Carolinians know what that logo means. It means when you make your food selections, and if you can pick that, your dollars will stay here. And apparently we had some success with that because, again, doing some economic research, I think USC did this for us a few years ago, compared to 2010, 8 years later when we had the most recent numbers, all of us in South Carolina collectively were buying $175 million more worth of South Carolina, primarily fruits and vegetables, than we were then, because I think we, for the most part, get it. That if we will support our local farmers, the dollar stays here, It adds to our economy, and by the time those dollars turn over in the economy, it's well over $250 million added in the last period of time. And we say that because obviously we do the things we do with your investment, tax dollars, and we provide a good return. Whereas the state, with our limited dollars, we have to invest them in things to make our state safer and logistics and all of these things. Some of the investments for South Carolina, for our tax dollars, goes into growing the economy, whether it's the Department of Agriculture, Department of Commerce, Parks, Recreation, Tourism, these things that add to our coffers. So we're very proud of the way that we think we've provided a positive rate of return to the state of South Carolina. And I mentioned tourism and other industries. Agribusiness is a vital part of our economy. It was mentioned about the 50 by 20 goal that said, could we raise from 34 billion to 50 billion in the decade that we just completed? And we came close. Well, the last numbers we had again in 2018, and we were north of $46 billion that agribusiness generates for our economy. We would all spend the money on the finished product of agriculture and forestry. We're going to buy food, we're going to buy lumber, we're going to buy the things that agriculture produces, but because we do it here, the direct, indirect, the jobs, and all of these things, $46 billion and nearly 250,000 jobs connected to agribusiness. Farming, I'm a farmer, farming is the foundation of it all. And with 25,000 farms, you can do the math. You say, where does 250,000 jobs come from? It's between the time I grow something and we consume it here. It's quite a fascinating industry. Carter McIntyre is here, a great friend at McIntyre Produce, a part of that industry, doing the processing, buying from South Carolina and other farmers to create a value-added product to sell further along in the food chain. So it's a fascinating industry to be a part of. COVID, everyone's always concerned, what did COVID do for agriculture? Well, it was a mixed bag of tricks. If a farmer sold his or her output to the school system, for example, or restaurants, you can imagine what happened there. So we helped them pivot, if you will, to a different distribution outlet. Immediately when COVID began to shut things down, we amended the website of the Department of Agriculture to tell you where you could go and find South Carolina produced food that its normal marketing channels had been displaced. So those types of things we think help mitigate some of the impact of COVID. 2020 was, again, a very interesting year. In the final analysis, the net farm income, all farms across the United States, was actually up because the cycle of farming kind of comes and goes, but it was up, which was good news. The bad news, Rusty Pass is going to pull the rest of his hair out when I tell him this. 40% of the net farm income for 2020 was a Washington payment. I hate to tell you that, but you can read it anywhere. Why was that? It was several things. The mitigation payments that came to farmers as a result of the trade wars with China. They were called market facilitation payments. I learned more acronyms last year. You had market facilitation payments to help offset for the loss of value when our crops had the tariffs put on. So China represents so much of our trade, with American farmers in South Carolina being the same, that is the impact. So along comes that, and then the impact of the COVID-19 that I was just describing for quite a number of our farmers when the virus impacted the meat processing facilities in the Midwest that you all saw on the news. That put a halt to the distribution of meat products and other things, so there were animals ready for market that were euthanized. So these types of things, they were offset with monies from the coronavirus relief fund, so some dollars came there. So the point is, 2020 is a year that is not sustainable for production agriculture. You cannot count on that type of support. And thankfully, with the implementation of the Phase 1 trade deal with China and with other things as markets begin to equalize, the equalization of the market supply and demand, they're finding themselves settling in at a few higher prices from me as a producer for the corn, soybeans, cotton that we export to the world. Those will sustain agriculture in 2021, hopefully without relying on quite that amount of supplementation from Washington. So that's sort of where we are in 2020 and 2021. What I like to do is talk more about where we think agriculture can go, the role that the department plays, and where I find it fascinating to be a part of. We are trying to move this industry forward. We just began our next 15-year look at agriculture. What will it look like? The average age farmer in South Carolina is just under 60 years old, so I'm finally an above average farmer by 4 years. But we've got to find that next generation. Now, that next generation may not come from the Weathers family or Good Farm family. It may come from Colorado, Michigan, California. Coming into our state, we want to make our state attractive to blend in our traditional agriculture with new age technologies, new age agriculture. Let me give you a great example of that. In September of last year, we had a group announce that they would come to Hampton County, one of our highest unemployment counties, a group called the Agriculture Technology Campus. So is that a farm? Well, it's a farm. It is greenhouse farming, and it will be the largest single greenhouse farming operation in the United States. It is the largest agribusiness announcement ever. They will invest somewhere close to $315 million in Hampton County to construct 140 acres of greenhouses, but also the good news, the extra good news, they will have a food co-packer, a food processor, so that not only will they take the tomatoes that don't go for the market, they'll take the culls and they'll package that into a packaged tomato-based product. But they'll also contract with farmers from the area to bring in products that they won't grow in their own facilities. So we think that this food processor is a great new market for farmers. There will be some new crops that we might not be growing now. So this operation will employ nearly 1,600 people in Hampton County. So maybe not as many of them will be taking that 2-hour bus ride to Hilton Head to do the jobs that they're doing there. They can find work at home. So those types of things is what we see the future of this industry, blending in multiple generation farms who had the traditional farming methods. Those will never not be a part of the South Carolina landscape, but these new operations will also be a part. You know, that's the large picture. That's the large scale. What we also work with, it was referenced in my introduction, was ACRE, Agribusiness Center for Research and Entrepreneurship. Now, I can pronounce entrepreneurship. I'm not sure I can spell it. I'm not sure I know what it is, but we darn sure support it. I say it that way to tell you this. We are looking for bright minds in South Carolina agriculture. You know, you don't have to go any farther than an iPhone in your pocket to know that the things we take for granted today, some point in our past was somebody's dream. Somebody who had a vision, somebody that invested in it, somebody that managed it, somebody that performed a lot of services. Well, we want to find those that will make our industry even greater going forward. Find those ideas, invest $5,000 or so. The more advanced, we've invested $25,000, so that's not a lot. With some of them, it just takes that little extra help to move them over the top. So we're very excited about what's happened already. We supported a couple in Darlington County that takes and processes their own cotton and makes it into some very high-end quilts and covers for your bed. They were, anybody read Garden and Gun magazine? They were in Garden and Gun magazine, and you can imagine what their sales did, but we helped them get to the next level in some of their equipment and things like that. We have a young man in Charleston that is growing what's called sea pickles. He is growing pickles in salt water, briny water, out on John's Island. His sales have just taken off. He's now part of Walmart, not Walmart, but Whole Foods and things like that. But we helped him. I went early on, and it looked like it had no chance of surviving. But through just help and guidance, he was able to take it to the next level, and now it looks like a great success story. So we have, I think we've had 19 or 20 some odd like that we've invested in and encouraged over the last 3 years. The other half of that is research. A lot of research is done, sometimes it seems like for the sake of doing research. We do it the opposite way. We ask our industry members, what will it take for you to expand in South Carolina? What's holding us back? How do we unlock the code? And when we take those questions and formulate research projects for either somebody at USC, Clemson, MUSC, wherever, as it relates to South Carolina production agriculture, what can take us to the next level? So we're excited because we're doing some of these things, but the challenges, as I pointed out about the demographics of South Carolina agriculture, they're there. We compare ourselves to our neighbors, and we look at some simple things like how much revenue per acre do we produce in South Carolina compared to Georgia and North Carolina, and we are behind. They produce, in Georgia's case, $160 more per acre than we do. North Carolina's higher than that. It all has to do with the crop mix that we grow. The higher the value crops that you blend in, the higher you return for your farmers, the higher the risk. There's always a trade-off. So we look at things like this to try to see where we can position this industry for the most chances of success down the road. Well, I debated before I even started just to say, I'm not talking today, y'all just ask questions. And I look at that clock that Mason put there so prominently, knowing he had a politician coming. I can ramble on for a while, but that's my just the points I wanted to get across, but I do want to I'm going to just stop and open it up for questions. Let me see. I got in my mind how many questions before I hear the word him. Let's see how many. Go ahead.
So I'm going to go to question number one.
Him.
What percentage is that in our crop, and do you in our total revenue? And do you perceive that as growing or steady or?
Are you talking about him?
Talking about him.
Oh boy.
Is it a noticeable piece of our revenue?
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
There's still too many unknowns. And we're talking about the value chain from the time I produce something to the time we ate it here, and the McIntyre produces along the way. Hemp has so many questionable members of that chain of distribution. I shouldn't say questionable, I said people. Just so many unknowns yet. Biggest part is federal regulation. We don't know what you can put CBD into yet. We're waiting on FDA to tell us that 2 years ago. They told us early 2020, then they got preoccupied with COVID. So a lot of unknowns. We can grow it. It's just a lot of unknowns in the distribution and processing.
Thank you for being here today. I had a question about agritourism, because I've heard a lot of stuff about people wanting to get off the grid, go and experience what it's like to farm, and just what your thoughts were on that.
My thoughts are very good because agritourism is one of our bright spots in South Carolina. Years ago, I think we had 20 or 30 places you could go. Now we've got 3 times that. Quite a active community. I still could not get over the fact that people would pay money to come out and watch me milk a cow. Not enough for me to go back and do it again, I can tell you that. I said, here, pay me double, I'll let you go. I'm going. So, yes, you're right. And COVID, the year of COVID was a positive because people could go out and do a family activity, stay socially distanced, get outside. So agritourism is one of our bright spots. It's just a good supplemental income stream for production.
You mentioned passing the torch on to the next generation, or alluded to that. Do you have any comments about the Governor's School for Agriculture that I recently heard about? Thank you.
Yeah, very good comments, because I encourage them to do that. Are y'all familiar with John Delahouse School in McCormick? Been there 200 plus years. And Dr. Delahouse left it to the state of South Carolina strictly for the purpose of education of young people in agriculture. It's been through several iterations of its operation, and I'll be honest with you, 5 or 6 years ago when I first got involved, I didn't think it had really the chance to be where it is today. But I'm very excited about where it is today, because it is, as I understand it, the only high school on-campus learning experience in the country to do that. And the reason it's important, not every young person needs to go and pursue a 4-year degree in order to make the most successful pathway forward. And this will provide opportunities to find those and redirect them, but let them choose. And I'll tell you, the Agriculture Technology Campus I just mentioned, they're already looking to partner with them to train the level of employee that they will need in that operation. And there are others just like that. So Carter McIntyre may need someone more versed in food packaging and whatnot. So the school, Governor's School for Agriculture is going to fill a need that will help us. It'll give us a great tool in the toolbox for the future.
What is the #1 cash crop in South Carolina?
It's poultry. We like chicken. And we grow a lot of it, as most southeastern states do. If you count forestry products, and the reason I say that, the U.S. Department of Commerce, for some reason, doesn't count it, but forestry, gate receipts are next. And then into the green industry of the landscaping products and things like that. Your traditional crops of cotton and whatnot come next. Tobacco is not in the top 10. Peanuts have replaced tobacco. Peanuts are a great crop that we grow and a great success story. So I should have brought some handouts for all those. I say I'm getting the hook.
Yes, appreciate that.
Thank you.
If you talk to a poultry farmer about how bad their product smells, they usually reply, "Smells like money to me." So I'm glad we've got that going in South Carolina too. COVID-friendly pin for you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Y'all have been a member of this club since 2006. I don't think I've seen a 30-day period where we've had 3 constitutional officers come and speak to the club. We started February with the governor. We had Molly Spearman, Secretary of Education, last week, and now we've had the Commissioner of Agriculture. Catherine's doing a great job, President-elect Catherine. Who do we have coming next week to come speak to us?
Next week, we'll hear from Chuck Sally, who's Vice President of Industrial here in Columbia, and he's going to talk about 803 Industrial Park here in Columbia.
Great.
He's with Colliers International.
Colliers International. Thank you. All right, we're looking forward to that, and we'll end with Song with Rusty.